Welcome to today's interactive event, Strategies for the Giving Season. My name is Cindy Reamer-Sma, Director of Gift Administration here at Barnabas Foundation. It is my pleasure to work with many of you as you give in some of the ways that we're going to talk about today. Today's session is designed to be interactive, so if you have any questions, please feel free to send it to us by clicking on the Q&A button below. Joining me today is Lindsay Cannon, Director of Planning for Barnabas Foundation. Welcome, Lindsay. Lindsay is experienced and well-versed in a variety of giving strategies available to you and has a lot of valuable information to share with us today. So let's jump in. Lindsay, what are some of the key giving strategies to consider during the holiday season?
Well, Cindy, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this event today. And before we kind of jump into some of those giving strategies, I'd really like to just take a moment and thank those of you who are here at this event today. Many of you are supporters of ministries. And many of you are generous Christians that are blessing organizations. And so we just want to thank you for the impact that you are making through your giving, especially as we are going into this holiday season, and just the great impact that is making for these organizations and for God's kingdom. So we just want to thank you for that. And many of you on this call today, many of you might know some of the information we're going to be talking about or have made the types of gifts that we're going to discuss. And we would just ask, as we're learning today through this event, that if you're familiar with the information, that maybe you could be thinking about others, friends or family members that might also benefit from this information today, because the more people that can be giving through the holiday season, the greater the impact for God's kingdom. And so, Cindy, let's just, getting back to your question, talking about these key giving strategies. Well, typically when we think about giving during the holidays, we're thinking about giving a gift of cash or maybe even writing a check. And traditionally, that is the way that people would give. But there really is some tax efficient key giving strategies that we can use during this season, especially when it comes to gifts of appreciated non-cash assets. And so what do we mean by that? Well, appreciated non-cash assets, those can include gifts of perhaps you own publicly traded stock or securities. Maybe you even own real estate, such as farmland or vacation property, perhaps a rental property. Those can make fantastic gifts to ministry. And it could be smart if you have real estate that maybe you no longer need or no longer want to care or manage, that you would use that as a gift and redirect that back to bless your favorite ministry. Also, business owners, if you're a business owner, perhaps looking at gifting a business interest, that can be a great tax efficient gift to bless ministries and charities. And so when we think about giving, we're thinking about not just cash or writing a check, but really looking at the other assets we own, these non-cash assets that can make some great gifts. And so when we think about these assets, though, we want to look at a couple different things to make sure that it'll make a good gift. The first thing we want to look at is if this asset is appreciated. So if you have a non-cash asset, say for instance, publicly traded stock, we want to make sure that from the time you have owned the asset until the time of giving, it has appreciated in value. So we're looking for that appreciation or that growth of the asset. And then the second thing, Cindy, is making sure that this asset has been held or it's been owned by you for longer than a year. And what that does is if the asset is owned for longer than a year, it locks in the long-term capital gain nature of this asset that really makes it a good gift. So this is what we're looking for, is gifts of non-cash assets that are appreciated and that have been held for longer than a year. And so when we're thinking about giving these type of assets, there's really some really great tax benefits and advantages to giving these type of gifts. And so I'd love for us to put up our first slide if we can. And we're going to specifically look at some of the benefits of these non-cash asset gifts. And so some of the key benefits include, first of all, that when we give a gift like this, we are going to receive an immediate charitable tax deduction, which is based on the fair market value of the gift. And so we're going to get that charitable tax deduction. And then in addition, we are going to evaporate any capital gains tax that we may have owed if we had sold that asset and then gifted it. So we really get here a double tax benefit in that we get the fair market value charitable tax deduction and also avoid paying that capital gains tax. And in addition, when we're making these type of gifts during the holiday season, it's really not affecting our cash flow, right? We're not having to dip into our cash reserves to make these gifts, but we can look at other types of assets that we own, so it's not affecting that cash flow. And then lastly, Cindy, even if we are not itemizing on our tax return, so if you're someone that is claiming that standard tax deduction, you still are going to receive a great tax benefit because you're still going to be able to eliminate having to pay capital gains tax upon a gift of these non-cash assets. So there's really some wonderful benefits when gifting these type of assets that make them very tax advantaged gifts. And so I'd love to take a look at an example of this. And if we could put up our next slide, we are going to look at a gift that our friend Jane made. And this is just a great example to kind of show some of these benefits. So our friend Jane in 2018, she purchased 200 shares of Starbucks stock. And at the time, those shares, it was valued at $10,000. Well, Jane continued to hold this stock over the years. And about 5 years later, in 2023, she is now looking at holding these shares of Starbucks stock, and they are now valued at 20,000. So this stock is basically doubled in 5 years. And if Jane was to sell this stock, so if Jane said, I would really like to bless ministry with this stock, and I'm going to sell the stock and then gift the proceeds. Well, if Jane was to do that, if you kind of follow that bottom arrow down, we see that if she sells the stock, there's going to be a capital gains tax bill of about $2,000. So selling this stock is going to result in Jane writing that check to the IRS for about $2,000 for capital gains tax. So what is another option? Well, another option for Jane is that she could gift that stock directly to ministry. And by doing that, by making that direct gift of that stock, not only is she going to avoid or eliminate having to pay that capital gains tax, but she's also going to get that 100% fair market value charitable deduction. So she's going to get that double tax benefit by gifting the stock versus selling and then gifting the sale proceeds. So as you can see, Cindy, these type of gifts, these non-cash appreciated assets, really can make a wonderful gift and also have a substantial impact for ministry.
Lindsay, it is really incredible how much tax savings that there can be when you gift an appreciated asset that you've held for a long time and that has a lot of growth inside of that. So thanks for sharing that. Are there other giving strategies that we can use to bless the ministries that we'd like to support and reduce taxes?
Cindy, there's some other really great kind of options and giving strategies that we can look at. And one of our favorite ones is actually making gifts from an individual retirement account or an IRA. And many of us on this event today own IRA accounts. And these make such an easy way to give and to bless ministry. And also to have some significant tax benefits. So if you are someone who has an IRA account and you are 70 and a half or older, the IRS says that you can make what is called a qualified charitable distribution direct from your IRA account to a qualified ministry. And by making that qualified charitable distribution, or we call it a QCD, making that direct from the IRA to ministry, that gift is going to be excluded from your taxable income for that year. So you're not going to pay tax on that gift coming out of the IRA going to ministry. And then also, if you are someone who is having to take RMDs, those required minimum distributions from your IRA account, well, a QCD, or a qualified charitable distribution gift, is actually going to count towards part or perhaps all of those RMDs for the year. So this can be a really, really tax efficient, great gift to make, because the donor is not going to pay tax on the distribution to ministry. The ministry, when it receives the gift, is not going to pay tax. And so we're really making a tax efficient gift that is going to have a bigger impact for these ministries that we want to support. And then lastly, Cindy, I should mention too, when we make these qualified charitable distributions, we actually can make up to $100,000 from our IRA per person per taxable year. So this is a great benefit. If you're a single person, you can make a gift up to $100,000 per taxable year to Bless Ministries. If you are a husband and wife, and each of you has an IRA account, each of you separately can make up to $100,000 gift. So really, a husband and wife could give $200,000 to Bless Ministries from each of their accounts. So this is just such a great way to give that is tax efficient for the donor, and also a bigger impact and blessing for the ministry. And then sort of along the same lines, if we have any farmers on our event today, is looking at gifts of commodities. So if you're a farmer and you have grain or corn or cattle, this can make an excellent gift to Bless Ministry as well, because a gift of commodities is going to reduce your taxable income for that year, meaning that you are not going to recognize that income or pay tax for the amount that is gifted. So that can also be a wonderful tax efficient gift. And then lastly, I would love to just touch on, especially in this holiday giving season, if you are on this event today and you are employed, thinking about whether or not your employer has a matching gift program. Many employers offer a program where if their employee makes a donation or a contribution to ministry or charitable organization, that the employer will actually match that gift. So really it creates a double impact going out to charity. In fact, some employers will even do a 2-for-1 program where if the employee makes a contribution or a donation, they will double it. And so you're really getting significant gift impact out to ministry. So that can be another really wonderful giving strategy to take advantage of during the holiday season.
You know, Lindsay, seniors have a great opportunity to share with others about the benefits of gifting from their IRA. We always think that people know about giving from your IRA, but sometimes they don't. So if this is something that's new to you, new information, we encourage you to share it with your friends. Lindsay, what if people want to make gifts to multiple charities? Is there a way to give appreciated stock to multiple charities other than sending them each individually gifts?
Yes, Cindy, that's such a great question, because you're right. Many people are giving to multiple charities, multiple organizations, and there is a simpler way to do this type of giving. So Barnabas Foundation has what we call our Stewards Fund account. And in essence, this is our donor advised fund. And this type of an account is something that you can set up through Barnabas and consider it your charitable giving account. And what you can do with this type of account is you can give non-cash assets, you can give gifts of cash, but you can make a contribution into your Stewards Fund account. And you are going to get one taxable receipt from Barnabas Foundation. Once you make that contribution, you then get the ability to decide when you want to make transfers, or we call them grants, out of that account to multiple ministries. So for instance, if you are someone who is really in a high income year, where you're going to have a lot of income for the year, what some people do is they actually front load their stewards fund account. So they make one high contribution to the account. So they get that tax deduction for that year. And then they use the stewards fund to support ministries over time. So there's really timing and flexibility with this account. You're in control of when you are making those grants out of the account. And then the other thing is, again, when you're making a contribution, you are going to get that immediate charitable tax deduction. And with these non-cash asset gifts, again, we're going to avoid and eliminate that capital gains tax. So it really provides simplicity for people to use this Stewards Fund account, use it as their charitable giving account. And then lastly, I should say too, if you are someone who really likes to privately give to different ministries and organizations, the Stewards Fund is great because these grants you make out can be anonymous. And so it really can provide privacy for you as a supporter.
Yeah, the Stewards Fund has really assisted thousands of donors and supporters and giving tax efficient gifts to the ministries that they support and that are dear to their heart. So yeah, if that's something that is interesting sounds interesting to any of you, we ask that you contact us at info@barnabasfoundation.org, and we're happy to share more information about our Stewards Fund and how that can help them. Again, I apologize that you're not able to see me and know that I'm here. So sorry about that as we continue to have some technical difficulties, but hopefully you can hear me okay. Lindsay, before we jump forward, there are a couple of questions that we had. The first one is, can you give from a 401k? Can you give those IRA assets from a 401k? My understanding on that, Lindsay, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that you really would have to transfer that to an individual retirement account in order to make a gift from that. Is that correct?
Yes, Cindy, that is correct. Unfortunately, we cannot do these qualified charitable distributions from a 401k. But if you were to roll over that 401k to create an IRA account, that's when you can start making those distributions as from the IRA. But unfortunately, right now, you cannot do it from a 401k account.
Good. Thanks for confirming that. Also, another question that we had come in was, how do gifts of commodities work? Can Barnabas assist the donor with that type of gift? And I'll just interject on this one, Lindsay, that yes, I work with our gift administration team, and we are happy to help you walk through the steps of gifting a commodity. It really is simple. Barnabas Foundation would establish an account at the elevator or wherever the commodity is being delivered. And that's when the gift is given then to Barnabas Foundation. We work to liquidate that gift, and then those funds are available to be sent on to the ministry that the donor intends for them to support, or to go into a stewards fund if a donor has that set up. So Lindsay, as the year is drawing closer, I believe that we're in like the last 7 weeks, I believe it is, about 7.5 weeks we have left in 2023. How do people make sure that they're receiving a charitable deduction for 2023? Make sure that it gets on this tax year.
Right. So, Cindy, I would actually love to put up our last slide because that is a really great question. You know, it's getting to year end, and we want to make sure that we are getting these gifts in, that they're processed, so that we're getting that deduction for this year. So I'd really like to just go through this. And when we're looking at making a gift towards year end, the first thing we're going to think about is a gift of cash. So if you are someone who's interested in gifting cash to ministries or charitable organizations, you want to make sure that that cash is either delivered in person, or if you're going to mail it in an envelope, that it is postmarked by December 31st. So those are the keys there to make sure to receive the deduction for 2023. Now, if it's a gift of non-cash appreciated assets, like the ones we talked about today, those need to be transferred to the ministry by December 31. If it's a gift from your IRA, if it's one of those qualified charitable distributions we talked about, if it's a check coming from the IRA, it must be received by the ministry and processed by December 31 to receive the deduction, to receive, or I should say, not the deduction, but to be able to make sure that that qualified distribution is done within 2023. And then lastly, if it's a gift to a stewards fund, that needs to be transferred into the stewards fund account by December 31st. So there really is some key timing aspects that we have to look at here. But at our team, we have our gift administration team, and they are well versed in the timing of these year-end gifts and would be more than happy to help you to make sure that these gifts are transferred and processed in time.
I also want to highlight, Lindsay, that December 31st falls on a Sunday this year. So keep that in mind when you're doing your year-end gift planning. The post office will not be open on the 31st. Lindsay, are there any final tips or strategies for this giving season?
You know, Cindy, I think when we think about the holidays, right, everyone is busy. You know, you on the event today are busy. We at Barnabas are busy. The post office is busy. You know, I think the biggest tip and strategy we can end with today is just making sure that we're beating that year-end rush. And what I mean by that is, you know, really building in extra margin for these gifts to be given, to be received, to be transferred and processed. And so, you know, really give yourself time. Start the process early and really err on the side of over communicating, whether it be with your financial advisor, whether it be with the organization. Make sure that you're over communicating so that these gifts are done in a timely way. And then lastly, please call us early. If we can help with these gifts, please call us and we are more than willing. We have a whole staff, a whole team at Barnabas that would love to help you. And so please feel free to call us so we can help you process this gift in time by year end.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, communication is key. Really helpful. The more that you communicate with us, the easier it's going to be for us to make sure that your gift is received and processed in a timely basis. A couple more questions that came through. One is, what is meant by processing an IRA gift? I know our illustration talked about making sure that that gift from your IRA is processed by before the end of the year. And I'll jump on that one if that's okay, Lindsay. So what?
Absolutely.
Sure. So sometimes people are actually writing checks. Their IRA administrator will give them a checkbook, and they're actually writing a check from their IRA. Well, that check, that transaction is not recorded at their administrator until that check is cashed. So in that case, it's very important that that check be in the bank by the end of the year, so it shows that it was a gift made in the current tax year in 2023. So that's what we mean by processed in that case, is because some people are writing direct checks out of their IRAs. We have another David said, can gifts from an IRA to a DAF count as a QCD? And David, I'm so glad that you asked this question. Lindsay and I were talking about this before our event today, and we wanted to make sure that we included this information that unfortunately gifts from an IRA as a qualified charitable distribution cannot be made to a donor advised fund. That does not qualify as a gift from your IRA. It really needs to go directly to the charity that you want it to benefit for and not to a donor advised fund. So thank you for asking that question. Some of the highlights from today's topics are covered in a resource that we have, 7 Smart and Savvy Tips for Giving. To request the complimentary copy, you can email us at info@barnabasfoundation.org, or you can call our 800 number, 888-448-3040. And if you have any other further questions that you'd like us to discuss, maybe something that is, particular to your situation, feel free to give us a call at that same number or email as well, or feel free to reach out to the ministry that told you about today's event. Our next interactive event is scheduled for February 21 in 2024. Jim Bakke, our executive director, will be talking about healthy conversations with your loved ones about your will and other important documents. So that'll be one that you want to be sure to tune in on, and you can learn more about that event and register also at our website, barnabasfoundation.org/interactive. In the meantime, on behalf of all of us at Barnabas Foundation, I want to wish you and your families a very happy Thanksgiving and a beautiful Advent season. Thank you for joining us.